Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 22 of Tuesday Treat. If you can hear me, I would like you to type hashtag live or type hi so that we are sure that there are no sound glitches and you can hear us. And once again, we are back with another amazing expert who what they do is actually very important in today's time for coaches and consultants. So I'm really excited for this episode. Just to make sure that there are no sound glitches. If any one of you can hear me, I mean, just can confirm that you are able to hear me, just type hashtag live or type hi. And if you are watching this on replay, type hashtag replay. Meanwhile, let me just play with few settings to make sure that you are all able to see this. And we are live, yes. So my guests today, they actually believe that everyone has a uniqueness, which is their genius, and amplifying that is something that they do. So our guests actually provide done for you podcast launch and ongoing podcast management. So if you are somebody who's thinking about starting and launching your podcast, you don't need to miss this episode. So just give me a second and let me add my guest. Please welcome Miss Michelle Abram.
Hey,
Hey
Adele,
Michelle.
thanks so much for having me. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate that you took time out and joined us. I really look forward to our episode today.
Me too. I'm super excited and I'm always happy to talk about podcasting, especially to coaches and consultants.
Yeah, actually, I remember we actually network in a networking group. So for the first time when I joined I came to your chapter meeting. I was really intrigued because at that time I had no idea that
Mhm.
how this is done, and I was really scared of doing Facebook lives and everything. So I was like, man, she's doing something which is really awesome.
Now look at you, 22 episodes in.
Yeah, I'm still learning, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it now.
That's great. And I love this idea. It's a really unique idea. And then this is perfect. And even if people don't want to take this into a podcast, you're doing the live, you just get more and more comfortable the more times you do it. And it's great. It's an awesome way of reaching out to your audience.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, and I'm really excited for this episode. So I'll not waste more time, and I'll jump right into the first question, which is, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm the founder of a company called Amplify You. And so we like to say, like, we want to be like the Hay House of podcasting. So we really help those coaches and consultants and experts, authors, speakers who are out there making a big impact in the world and have a big message to share. Those are the type of people we love working with because we know we can help them launch their podcast successfully and then allow them to stay in the zone of content creation, which is their zone of genius, and then let us take care of the rest. We have a full team that does done for you podcast management services, and that really allows. So we've launched over 200, more than 200 shows. We've got two that launched this week
Wow.
in the last 3 years, and we're really, really, really so proud of our clients. The two shows that are launching this week are both in the parenting space, and they've launched in the top 10 of the parenting category, and both are amazing shows. So those are just a couple of examples of the shows that we work with and the type of people we work with. We're just so proud of them because our job is to help amplify them into the world. Their job is really bringing that message to their audience, and seeing the ripple effect and the impact they're making in the world is really what makes us love what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. But before I ask more about this, I want to know how do you get into this? What made you think that this is something that you want to do and
Well,
that you started doing this?
That's a really interesting question because when I started podcasting, this was back before most people even knew what podcasting was. So I would say bring us back to 2012 when I became a new mom. Prior to that, I'd had a fitness studio and I'd grown a big team. I had locations all across our province. And I also had a co-working space. And so those two business adventures, I was a really busy entrepreneur. So having a baby really slowed me down and made me really, stay at home and for a few weeks anyways, and get some rest and get to know my son. But my poor business brain was getting a bit mushy. So I was really looking for some inspiration on hearing other experts or authors or looking for other people that were leaders in our space. And I turned on the Apple TV one day when I was playing at home with my son, and I saw this purple app, and it was the podcasting app. And so I clicked on it. And some of the first shows that I turned on was Jamie Tardy's Eventual Millionaire, and John Lee Dumas' Entrepreneur on Fire just started. And same with Amy Porterfield's Online Marketing Made Easy. So those three shows really inspired me. I could put my earbuds in and I could take my son for a walk so I could feel like I was still being a good mom, but I was getting my business brain going. And then I noticed it was in my truck, this same purple app, and I could listen to podcasts while we were driving. And then it was everywhere. I could do it while I was cooking dinner. I could do it while I was vacuuming. So I got used to listening to consuming these podcasts, and I think it really helped me go, after having babies, I think some moms go into a bit of postpartum depression. And I think it really steered me out of that and got me motivated and inspired. And I'd wait for the episode to drop every Monday morning, put my earbuds in, take my son for a walk. And I think it really helped me get through those early years of being a new mom.
Wow, that's amazing and inspiring. And it sort of became a ritual for you.
That's right. Yeah, it did become a ritual, and it was something I looked forward to every day in my fill of podcasts. So I became an avid listener first, which I think really helped. Becoming a listener, it really helped me understand listener behavior and understanding what your listeners were looking for. And I knew that if they did not post an episode on a Monday morning, I would be so disappointed. And so your listeners become really loyal. And so I think understanding that as a podcast host has really helped. So fast forward a few years, I started having meetups in my co-working space, a Vancouver podcasters meetup, and there wasn't a lot of experts around. There was a few guys that I could bring in to teach us some things. So I started learning all about podcasting, and finally, eventually launched my own podcast. But it took me a long time. I was helping other people do theirs much longer before I started doing mine. So I really started using my marketing brain and was really enjoying helping other people launch theirs. Meanwhile, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about on mine.
That's interesting because it's like you started by helping others, and then eventually you started your own as well.
Yeah. Yeah, actually,
That's awesome.
the first one deal that I started was in the RV space. So I wanted to take my family RVing, but I knew nothing about RVing. So I purposely started a summit, which turned into a podcast in the RV space. It's called Are We There Yet? And so I was interviewing all these RV experts. And eventually what happened was I did the summit. I grew an email list. I launched the podcast, and the podcast would then sell recordings of the summit, and it actually funded my family's entire trip. We spent 5 months. We bought an RV and spent 5 months driving from Vancouver down to California and all around Nevada and all the southern Arizona, southern states. And it was amazing. It was such a cool trip, but it all started because I wanted to start a podcast. I knew nothing about RVing. So here we go.
Wow, that's awesome. And before I move to next question, I really want to ask this one question that actually I think a lot about. And also, I mean, there are people who say, like right now we talk about the millennials and the generation with lowest attention span, and we have these stories and everything. How do you see podcasts? Do you see it as those short podcasts doing well, or it's about those episodes that are like 40 minutes, 50 minutes long? I mean, what's the reality around that?
It's really interesting because I see both. And I think there's both out there. And typically, a podcast listener was male originally, like about 5 or 6, 7 years ago, male CEO, so above average income, above average education, and also was an avid listener, would listen to about 7 shows, that demographic. And then also would show that he was in about 40 to 65 years old of range, age range, which is not millennial age range. So
Mm,
podcasts were typically an hour long or 45 minutes long. Fast forward 5 or 7 years, I'm seeing more podcasts that are a lot shorter. We have a client who does a 6-minute show. We also have clients that do hour-long shows. My answer whenever our clients ask, well, how long should my podcast be? I said, it's however long you can concisely deliver one message. And there's 5-minute podcasts that are too long and 2-hour ones that are too short. So it really depends on your messaging and how long
mhm.
you should have your podcast for. So going back to your question about the millennials, I just found out I'm a geriatric millennial is what they're calling me, because I'm kind of in those 4 years that are between Gen X and the millennials. So they don't know what to call us. They call us geriatric millennials. So it's interesting because my preference is like a 30 to 45-minute podcast. I think that's a good amount of time, because usually if you think about what your listeners are doing in that time, they're either walking the dog, cooking dinner, they're going to the gym, they're driving. A lot of times those are 30-minute activities. But if your podcast is longer, that does not mean that at 30 minutes they turn it off and they don't come back. They just pick it up where they left off when they get back in the car.
Well, thank you so much. That's an amazing insight. So let me move to my next question, which is how can coaches benefit from what you do? I know you work with coaches, so I'm sure you can share some case studies or success stories that have worked for coaches.
Absolutely. I think, it's interesting right now, our whole focus in businesses is time and attention are our most valuable assets, right? So having someone's attention, people pay a lot of money to get people's attention, right? And then when someone's going to spend time with you, like those are the most valuable things that someone has to give you. So as a coach and consultant, the thing that I really think is powerful for coaches and consultants about podcasting is the ability to have an audience and a captive audience that are seeking you out, where they're not just scrolling on Facebook and they're seeing your post and stopping and listening. They're actually going and seeking out your show to find you and listen to you and subscribe to your show and come back and listen to it ongoing. So I think capturing someone's time and attention in a day where there's so much distraction is great. But I think where podcasts is far superior than other communication tools is audio. So we can be doing anything else as well as listening to a podcast. Like I mentioned before, all those things, you could be walking the dog, going to the gym, cooking dinner. So it's a way that you can talk to your audience and build relationships with them. So there's nothing more than, when I was listening to those Eventual Millionaire show or Amy Porterfield's Online Marketing Made Easy, I felt like I could run up to them and give them a hug at a conference, even though they had no clue who I was. You're building that kind of relationship with your audience as you're the host and as they're listening to you. So, and then it really shortens down that customer journey, because when someone has consumed so much of your content, they are ready to work with you. Their next question is, how can I get more of your time, or how can we have a two-way conversation? So I think for coaches and consultants, having a podcast yourself is probably one of the most valuable things that you can do as far as marketing in your business, to build that like, know, and trust factor and build that relationship with your audience. And then the other way that I use the podcast is actually to build relationships by inviting people who I want to get to know, maybe as a joint venture partner or someone who
Mhm.
I admire, but maybe have not got another reason to have a coffee date with them. I use my podcast to open doors to those relationships. And it's those conversations that happen before and after the recording that are the needle movers in a lot of businesses. You become joint venture partners, or you do a collaboration together, or maybe they have someone to refer to you. So that's really, to me, I think for coaches and consultants, also another valuable part of podcasting.
Uh, yeah, I agree. And because I've been working for 10 years with coaches and consultants and
Mhm.
I help them with generating leads. And podcast is one of those things where actually it makes it like that your warm and hot leads are those who subscribe to your podcast. They come
For
to you
sure.
and it's like they know you, they know that you know what you're talking about, It's
Mhm.
just that they want to learn more about that before making a decision. So,
Absolutely.
so that's so true.
So
One
for
more
our coaches
question.
and So for our
Sure,
coaches
go
and
ahead.
consultants, I just wanted to say too, when you were talking about that, what I think is important for them to know is that even if they're not wanting to host their own show, for them to go out and be a guest on other shows still has that same effect because now you're going out to where
Mm,
someone else has an audience. And if you think about it this way, we pay so much money for marketing, whether it's Facebook ads or whether it's you know, and other kind of marketing or joint ventures or affiliates, whatever it is that you're doing for marketing, you spend so much money doing it. But if you think about your podcast interview on someone else's show, that's going to stay there forever. It's working for you 24/7. So you don't know who's going to come by and listen to it sometimes. So some of the huge opportunities our podcasters have gotten too is just by people listening to them on other people's shows as well and coming back and be like, hey, I heard you speak over here. Can you want to speak at this conference in front of 40,000 people? Or,
yeah.
hey, I'd love to work with you. Like, let's work together. So I just wanted to make sure that our coaches and consultants that we're speaking to today know that they don't have to have their own show. They could also benefit and leverage these strategies by being a guest on other shows too.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is something that has helped many coaches already, and it has long-term benefits if you
Mm-hmm.
do it consistently. Because I know I've been doing these Facebook Live, and I mean, it's very recent still, considering the 22 weeks that I've been doing this. But I've seen the difference that when people I reach out to me on DM, those who don't even comment on these lives, but they know about this and they talk about this. And I was having this conversation with someone who told me, who gave a reference of one episode because it was something relevant to what they do. So it kind of stick with them, and then they know that okay, this show can actually help them connect to relevant audience.
Right. That's great. It's
So
really great
what?
positioning for you.
Yeah. So, one more question for somebody. It's very relevant for me. It's my question, but I've had these conversations with some of the coaches who I've had this discussion with. Like, I'm somebody who has an accent. I'm not a
Mhm.
native English speaker. So when I started doing those videos, I used to put those subtitles on the videos and everything. And now after doing
Mhm.
22 episode, I've seen that it's not, I mean, it's more about the mindset that, I mean, I
Mhm.
used to think that maybe people won't understand, but I haven't had that much issue. But
Mhm.
still there is somewhere in my mind that I think that if I'm doing a podcast, how can somebody who's not able to understand my accent, what how can I make sure that there's no confusion? Because I cannot add subtitles, and I know if I provide the transcript it's not convenient. So is this a good tool for somebody who's not a non-native English speaker? Because
Yeah,
personally,
that's
I don't see any non-native speaker on podcasts.
mhm. It's interesting because the only thing I've ever heard about accents on podcasting is somebody say to me, I wish there was another accent other than just the North American accent on podcasts. And so I think people are looking to hear. We live in such a, I mean, I'm from Vancouver, BC, which is like a multicultural place. Like there
Mm,
is no normal accent where I'm from. Like every accent is a part of where we live. So I think it's refreshing to hear accents. I think you personally speak super clear, and you've got a very clear English accent. In fact, probably most people could understand you better than me because I speak so quickly. So I think that's just a mindset thing, and I think that people are welcoming hearing other accents on podcasts. It's not
mhm.
we have clients that are Australian, we have clients that are English, and it's nice to hear another accent on in your ears other than just the regular North American accent.
Well, I must say that you guys are really nice and polite, because when I use those automated subtitles generators, whenever I say hello, coaches, it always translate that to hello, gorgeous.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I'm not sure what my guest must be going through when I'm speaking.
Oh gosh,
That
no,
what how it sounds to them that I had no idea.
we transcribe a lot of episodes. All of our clients, we transcribe their shows, and nobody has perfect transcriptions because, especially actually one of the funniest ones is our one of our clients, Karen Kenny. She's got the Karen Kenny show, and she's in Boston, so she's got a very heavy Boston accent, and the transcription service really plays with her words a lot. And it's even, and it makes them into regular words, but like words that she would never have said. So it's got
Mm.
a mind of its own, the transcription services sometimes.
Yeah. So, I mean, before I move to my last question, I think it's very important for our guest if you can please share. I mean, what kind of services do you provide so they have clarity?
Sure. Yeah, we provide a few different services. So the first service is our, helping people who want to have a show launch their podcast show. So we do that. And and then once you've launched your show, we actually have a lot of, it's not just like a course that you go and take. It is actually a hybrid of, we have tons of videos. We have an online portal. You have weekly coaching sessions live. Plus you also have a podcast manager and a podcast coach who walk you through everything hand by hand, like step by step. So we take your hand and we actually will do done for you services. So we pick out your music license with your help, and we buy the license for you. We do the cover art for you. We will do the voiceovers and the intros and outros scripting with you. All of that stuff that you are left to do on your own usually, we actually have done for you services for that. And then we actually edit and produce your first 4 episodes. That's included in your launch package because there's a lot of people moving pieces going on. So if we can take that off of your plate, let us do that. Then we can do that for you. And if you want to learn it, you can also learn it yourself and do it yourself. And then we offer the ongoing podcast management. So once your show is live and launched, we have ongoing sessions that you can come to. We call them open office hours. It's called Beyond the Launch. You can come and talk about marketing, monetization. My partner, Evans Putman, is expert at monetizing podcasts. And so we really help focus on bridging your podcast and your business together. So that's the next step in our podcast management package. And then where we really have brought another service to light recently is a lot of shows have launched and they're just like, they're not happy with it. It's not producing well. It's not connected to their business. They just kind of threw it up there because they thought that's what they should do. So now we've got a new package called the relaunch to monetize package. So now we're really looking at the business and the podcast together as one system. How to relaunch your show usually includes an upgrade in your art, usually your sound quality, and also reproducing some aspects of it and really making sure you're speaking to the right audience. And so then we help them relaunch their show. And this is a great time to do this after first season or second season, third season, and relaunching the show with a fresh new look and a way that's really actually going to help them monetize their shows. Because our coaches, that's really important. We have a very small, different kind of podcast niche where the rest of the podcast world is out there trying to get sponsorships and ads and those kind of things. Our goal for our clients is to get a return on their investment through their own programs and services. So that's what you should be advertising on your podcast, your own programs and services as a coach. And so that's that's where we kind of are specialized in the coaching space.
Wow, that's awesome. And those who are watching or those who will be watching this on replay, I will ask you that do connect with Michelle. We are streaming this live on Facebook. I'll tag Michelle is already there. She has commented. You can reach out to her. And Michelle, please share your contact details or however you want people to reach out to you so that they can reach out to you and ask more questions. So now moving on to my favorite person.
Mm-hmm.
Usually people give gifts and treats to their guests, but we have a very different tradition. We actually ask our guests to bring treat for our audience.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any treat for us?
No, I'm just kidding. Yes, of course I do. I love this idea. I think this is a great idea. And it's actually one of the strategies that my business partner, Evans Putman, actually helps people with in monetizing their show. So we put together a podcaster's toolkit, which is some of the gifts from some of the guests on our show, Amplify You, plus a whole bunch of training, how to make great cover art in Canva, how to sound really professional. We've got tons of workshops and training. We've got how to use NLP for your intros and outros to attract your audience. Tons and tons of just training on all sorts of different podcast topics. And that is in our podcast toolkit, where you can find that at bit.ly/podcast
Yeah.
toolkit.
So I've shared the link here, but since it's not clickable, so Michelle, I would request you to put the link in the thread on Facebook so that people can reach out and use that link. And also, if you want any other details that you want to share, so that they can uh, have that and reach out to you.
Absolutely. That sounds great. And Adil, I'll have to have you on Amplify You now as my guest.
I would love to be a guest on that.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. So, to my audience, I would request that do explore the street, and also reach out to Michelle, and she'll be sharing the details. I'll have a conversation with her. I've been working with coaches, and I know lead generation is a big challenge. There are so many coaches out there. So right now, creating a differentiation is getting difficult. And podcast and doing these Facebook Live are one of those few avenues where right now you have space to create your own differentiation, because people are right now, those who are even new, they are struggling to do lives and podcasts. So I think it's best to start early and use an expert's help. So thank you so much, Michelle. I really enjoyed our conversation. I literally have so many questions, but I want to make sure that uh, I'm already well past my standard time. I think usually the most I think usually it's on average it's 20 minutes, but we are already on 27 minutes.
And we can go on
So
for hours about this topic, right?
exactly.
Yes.
So
Well,
thank
thank
you
you
so
so much
much
for
for your
having me.
time.
Thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
Yeah. And once again, I would request all my audience to reach out to Michelle and get to know more about how you can utilize podcasts for your coaching business. Till then, next week we will be back again with an amazing expert. Till then, take care, have fun, bye bye.